Welcome to our channel. Today we are diving deep into a habit that pretty much every single one of us is guilty of, the late night snack run. You know the drill. It's 11:30 p.m., the house is quiet, you're winding down, but suddenly you find yourself standing in front of the open fridge bathed in that cold LED light. You aren't exactly starving, yet you are compelled to grab something salty, sweet, or just comforting. We tend to think of this as a simple lack of willpower or maybe just boredom. But what if I told you that this specific moment is actually a biological trap? Joining me to explain why our bodies betray us after dark is Dr. Nocturne, a specialist in metabolic health and sleep science. Doctor, why can't we just go to sleep?
It's great to be here, and you are absolutely right to call it a trap. First off, we need to stop looking at late-night snacking as a moral failing. It is a physiological event. Your body operates on a strict circadian rhythm, essentially a master clock that coordinates every hormone and cellular function. When the sun goes down, your body prepares for restoration, not digestion. However, in our modern environment, surrounded by artificial blue light and high-stress stimuli, that clock gets confused. The brain starts seeking a quick dopamine hit to soothe the nervous system before bed. That trip to the fridge isn't about hunger, it's about neuroregulation. You are essentially self-medicating with carbohydrates to lower cortisol, but the cost you pay physiologically is astronomical.
That is such a fascinating way to frame it. Self-medicating with carbs. It makes total sense because nobody ever craves steamed broccoli at midnight, right? It's always ice cream, chips, or leftovers. So let's break down that cost you mentioned. I think most people assume the only downside to eating late is maybe gaining a pound or two over time, or maybe feeling a bit bloated. But you're suggesting the damage goes way deeper than just calories. When I eat that bowl of cereal right before hitting the pillow, what is actually happening inside the control center of my brain? Is it purely a chemical reaction that makes that food taste better at night?
Exactly. It's the dopamine loop. At night, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for executive decision-making and impulse control, is fatigued. It's tired from making decisions all day. Simultaneously, the brain's reward centers become hypersensitive. Evolutionarily, calories meant survival. So when you eat that sugar or fat, you get a massive, disproportionate spike in dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. This creates a reinforcing neurocircuit. Your brain learns, oh, feeling tired and stressed? Eat this, feel better instantly. It reinforces the habit loop. You are training your brain to associate the midnight hour with high-calorie rewards, making it harder and harder to resist the next night. It becomes a hardwired neurological event, not just a choice.
Wow, so we are essentially programming ourselves to fail every night. That is terrifying. But let's move down from the brain to the rest of the body. I've heard you talk before about the concept of metabolic twilight. It sounds poetic, but I have a feeling it's actually quite serious. If I eat a sandwich at noon, my body burns it off or stores it. If I eat that exact same sandwich at midnight, does my body treat it differently? Because physics says a calorie is a calorie, but biology seems to disagree with that when it comes to timing. What is happening to our metabolism once the sun goes down?
Physics says a calorie is a calorie, but physiology says timing is everything. This brings us to insulin resistance. During the day, your muscles and organs are primed to soak up glucose for energy. They are open for business. But as melatonin rises in the evening, your pancreas literally slows down production of insulin, and your cells become naturally resistant to it. They are trying to close up shop for the night to focus on repair. When you throw a load of glucose into the system at 11 p.m., your cells essentially lock the doors. They don't want the energy. So that sugar stays in your bloodstream, causing a massive, prolonged spike in blood glucose that wouldn't happen at 12 p.m. You are metabolically impaired at night.
Okay, think about it like this. It's like trying to deliver a huge shipment of packages to a warehouse, but all the workers have gone home and the doors are locked. The packages just pile up on the street, causing a traffic jam. In this case, the traffic jam is sugar in my blood. That creates a pretty vivid picture. And I assume having high blood sugar while you're trying to sleep is bad, but I didn't realize the cells were actually refusing the delivery. So this high blood sugar sits there. What is the immediate downstream effect of that? Does it stop us from sleeping, or does it just damage the system while we do sleep?
It does both, but the silent killer here is the suppression of growth hormone, or GH. Now get this. Roughly 70% of your daily growth hormone pulse is released during the first phase of deep, slow-wave sleep. This hormone is the fountain of youth. It repairs tissue, burns fat, and builds muscle. However, GH and insulin are antagonists. They are enemies. If insulin is high because of that late-night snack, GH cannot be released. The pituitary gland essentially gets a stop signal. So by eating late, you are chemically castrating your body's ability to repair itself overnight. You wake up physically older and less recovered than you would have if you had gone to bed on an empty stomach.
That is huge. I think most of us associate growth hormone with bodybuilders or athletes, right? We don't think of it as the daily repair crew for our regular bodies. So we are sacrificing our recovery for a handful of chips. That explains why, even if I get 8 hours of sleep after a big late meal, I still wake up feeling groggy and heavy. It's like I slept, but I didn't recover. Is that the distinction? It feels like there is a difference between being unconscious and actually getting high-quality, restorative sleep. What is happening to the architecture of the sleep itself?
Precisely. There is a massive difference between sedation and sleep. When you eat late, your body has to divert immense resources, blood flow, energy, enzymatic activity, toward digestion. Digestion is a thermogenic process. It raises your core body temperature. But for deep sleep to occur, your core temperature needs to drop by about 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. So you have a metabolic conflict. Your digestion is heating you up, while your brain is trying to cool you down to enter delta wave sleep. The result is sleep fragmentation. You might not wake up fully, but your brain is constantly being pulled out of deep sleep into lighter stages. You're micro-awakening dozens of times without knowing it.
Micro-awakenings. That sounds exhausting just talking about it. It explains why we see that data on our smartwatches or sleep rings, where it says restlessness or gives you a terrible sleep score despite the time in bed being long. It's fascinating, really, that digestion is such an energy-intensive process. I think we tend to view digestion as this passive thing that just happens in the background, like a background app on a phone. But you're saying it's more like running a high-intensity video game while trying to charge the battery. The system overheats, so we wake up unrefreshed. But then, the next morning, the cycle gets worse, doesn't it?
It gets exponentially worse. This is the leptin-ghrelin seesaw. These are your hunger hormones. Ghrelin tells you I'm hungry, and leptin tells you I'm full. Deep sleep is required to reset these hormones. When you have fragmented sleep caused by that late-night insulin spike, you wake up with ghrelin skyrocketing and leptin suppressed. Your brain is literally screaming for high-density energy, sugar and fat, to compensate for the poor sleep quality. You aren't just tired, you are chemically programmed to overeat the next day. The snack you ate at 11 p.m. tonight is actually dictating your cravings for 11 a.m. tomorrow. It's a cascading failure of the hormonal clock.
That is the light bulb moment for me. The idea that tonight's snack is tomorrow's hunger. It breaks that illusion that every day is a fresh start. We're actually carrying over this metabolic debt. So, if someone is stuck in this cycle, eating late, sleeping poorly, waking up starving, eating more crap, and repeating, how do we break it? Because willpower, as we established at the start, is usually the first thing to go when we are tired. Is there a specific protocol or a timing window that you recommend to your patients to just stop the bleeding, so to speak?
The most effective intervention is the 3-2-1 rule. It's simple, actionable, and creates a hard boundary. Stop eating food 3 hours before bed. Stop drinking fluids 2 hours before bed. And stop screens 1 hour before bed. The 3-hour food window is critical. It allows the stomach to empty, insulin levels to drop to baseline, and the body temperature to begin falling before your head hits the pillow.
If you go to bed at 11 p.m., the kitchen closes at 8 p.m. Firm close. When you do this, you might feel a bit of hunger pangs the first few nights. That is just the ghrelin ghost. It passes. But the payoff in sleep quality is immediate.
The ghrelin ghost. I love that. It's just a sensation, not an emergency. I think that's a powerful mental shift. We treat hunger like a siren, but sometimes it's just a notification we can swipe away. And the 3-hour rule seems manageable. It doesn't mean you can't eat dinner. It just means dinner isn't a ruling buffet that lasts until midnight. Now, I have to ask about the transition period. When people start doing this, they often report vivid dreams or feeling weirdly alert at first. Is that the body panicked, or is that the brain finally coming back online?
That alertness is actually your body resensitizing itself. When you aren't sedated by a food coma, you experience the natural drop into sleep. The vivid dreams are often a sign of REM rebound. If you've been chronically sleep-deprived or fragmented, your brain will binge on REM sleep once it finally gets the chance. It's catching up on emotional processing and memory consolidation. It's a good sign. It means the architecture of your sleep is healing. You'll find that waking up requires less caffeine because your cortisol awakening response, the natural energy spike in the morning, starts working correctly again. You're syncing back up with the sun.
That brings us back to the circadian rhythm you started with. It feels like we are trying to hack a system that doesn't need hacking. It just needs us to get out of the way. It's humbling to realize that all this modern comfort, the late snacks, the Netflix binges, is actually a form of biological stress. We interpret it as relaxing, but our cells interpret it as chaos. So if we respect this window, we aren't just losing weight or whatever. We are essentially protecting our long-term brain health and metabolic flexibility. It's an investment in tomorrow.
Absolutely. Think of it this way. Fasting at night is the most powerful anti-aging tool you have. During that empty stomach sleep, your body engages in autophagy, literally self-eating. It cleans out damaged cells, misfolded proteins, and metabolic junk. This only happens when insulin is low. If you are constantly fed, you never turn on the cleaning crew. By closing the kitchen early, you are allowing your body to take out the trash. It's not about deprivation, it's about cellular housekeeping. You are giving your organs the night off so they can be ready to work for you the next day.
Self-cleaning mode. I think everyone wants that. It's incredible how much biology goes into something as simple as don't eat late. We've covered the dopamine loop, the insulin blockers, the growth hormone suppression, and the sleep fragmentation. It's a comprehensive case for changing our nighttime routine. Dr. Nocturne, this has been an absolute eye-opener. I think a lot of us are going to look at that refrigerator light a little differently tonight. Thank you so much for breaking down the science of the midnight cycle for us.
My pleasure. Just remember, sleep is not a passive state where you do nothing. It is an active metabolic process where you rebuild your entire reality. Don't send your construction crew to work without the right conditions. Respect the cycle, close the kitchen, and let your body do what it was designed to do. Sleep well.